Hello, everyone. This is Independent Conservative. I am Ryan Bowling. Thank you all for joining me. The video I'm about to do today is a unique video in that I usually do not cover this type of material. But once I've completed reading the article, which is a pretty short article, you're going to understand why. Because this particular situation, this particular circumstance hits home in a literal way. So I'm going to get right into this article and then I'm going to give you my commentary. So let's get right into this. This is an unfortunate situation, but a young lady took her life. And, you know, whenever we talk about suicide, it's always an unfortunate situation. But let's get right into this. The adult film actress, porn star and exotic dancer Kagney Linn Karter died on Thursday from an apparent suicide at the age of 36. Karter, who got her start in the adult film industry in the mid-2000s, took her life on Thursday in her home near Cleveland, Ohio, a representative for the Palmer Police Department told TMZ. That's the one reason why I'm doing this video, because this situation is hit home in a literal way. I mean, I was born and raised in Cleveland. That's my hometown. That's where I live right now. And to read this article and see that this young lady had a home near Cleveland, Ohio, is very, very heartbreaking to know that this was a person that was in the industry and took her life. Now, before I read any further, let me point out first and foremost, this video is not about her being in the porn industry. So I want to put that out there before I read any further, so no one would think that I'm here trying to judge her for being in the porn. That's not what it's about. You're going to find out what I want to address with this particular article and with this particular incident once I've completed reading it. But no, this is not about judging her or judging what she was into. That's not what it's about. Okay, so let's continue this. My prayers do go out to the family members and those who loved her. But the article goes on to say the adult film actress' death was also confirmed by her friends Rachel and Megan, who set up a GoFundMe page on behalf of her mom, Tina, for the cost of Carter's memorial and her financial expectations associated with it. Karter is described as a performer, a singer, a dancer, a daughter, and a friend, as well as a small business owner, an instructor, and an intricate part of our Ohio Pole community in the GoFundMe campaign, which has a goal of $8,000 and has already reached more than $16,000 in donations. The two women behind the GoFundMe page say they are the owners of fitness studio in Cleveland and Akron, and that Karter was first came to our Cleveland studio, in quoting, Karter first came to our Cleveland studio in November of 2019, freshly moved out of LA, rearing and ready to jump back into the pole. I don't know. I think it's obviously pole dancing, but the way it's phrased. It's a sad situation here. She spends so much time at the studio, sometimes taking 5 or 6 classes per week, and threw herself into her training, Rachel and Megan said. Her dedication to her own progress was inspiring, they added. Her passion for pole and movement made us feel even more blessed for the honor to instruct her. And then the article goes on to say, from there, Karter decided to start her own fitness studio, Alchemy Pole Fitness, quote, the first pole studio in Akron and a safe space for so many students, friends, and loved ones, the women said. But the adult film actress had personal problems, her friends noted. Unfortunately, despite all of her many impressive accomplishments and talents, Kagney struggled with mental health issues as the years passed by, Rachel and Megan said. Says even in her darkest days, however, she still showed up to the studio, always ready to learn, contribute, better herself in whatever small ways she could manage, they continued. As long as she undoubtedly felt within the confines of her own head, she continued to make an effort to show up for her friends and the community who cared about her. And then it says, It goes on to say Carter's final clash with Rachel and Megan was on February 7th, less than 2 weeks before she took her life in her own home. And that's the end of that article right there. Once again, my prayers go out to the family members and who were close to her and those who loved her dearly. My prayers go out to them. God asks you to give them strength in this time of bereavement. But as I said in the introduction to this video, this is not a video about judging whether or not she was a pole dancer or judging whether or not she was in the porno industry. That's not what it's about. What this video is about is addressing the issue of suicide. That's what I want to address. I want to address the issue of suicide and the fact that this was so close to home, that this is somewhere in Cleveland. And I can't help but wonder, during my passing as a security officer or going to and from the library or downtown, had I ran into this individual, I don't know. But it's such a sad situation. But I want to just address the issue of suicide. That is a major, major problem. And I just want to say, anyone that's watching this video, if you feel like that you have suicidal thoughts and you feel like all of your problems and all of your pressures, financial problems, relational problems, or whatever, seek help. Seek help. Don't just try to override it. Don't just try to override those feelings by covering it up. True, you should keep going on, and you shouldn't sit at home and gloat over your issues. You should get out and do things, okay? True, you should do that. But doing things does not take away that feeling. Oftentimes, depression leads to suicide. That's the first step. The first step in suicide usually is depression. Now, one of the reasons why I say that is because many years ago, when I was in my 20s, I had suicidal thoughts. Now, what's interesting about that was I was a born-again Christian, which means it doesn't matter what your status is or what your religion is, how much money you have, how much money you don't have, all your accomplishment, it doesn't really matter. Suicidal thoughts can come to anyone. Now, what helped me was my relationship with God. He delivered me from this. Now, why do I say that? Because I had suicidal thoughts because I suffer from depression. The depression that I suffer from, I believe, was demonic. The reason why I say I believe it was demonic was because my present pastor, when I began to share with him about these issues, I would go through certain things and I would just get to the point where I would just be so heavy that other people around me could feel it. And he told me, he had a talk with me. He said, Minister Bolin, back then I was just a minister. He said, Minister Bolin, he says, look, you have a lot of knowledge in the word. God has blessed you with vast knowledge in the Bible. But he says you lack spiritual strength and you have a hard time maintaining a spirit of stability. And I was suffering from depression for years. Everything be going, and all of a sudden I would just slump. I would just fall into this like utter depression to the point where my head would be hurting. Okay, now that's bad depression. Okay, he decided to go on a 3-day. Let me slow down a little bit. He advised me to go on a 3-day fast in which he himself would fast with me. So the both of us fasted for 3 days in which I would seek the deliverance and healing of God. After that 3-day fasting and consecration, I was delivered from a spirit of depression which caused me to have suicidal thoughts. Now, everyone's suicidal thoughts and suicidal thoughts doesn't stem from demonic oppression like I feel I had. Okay. But I believe mine was demonic because after I prayed and fasted with my pastor, I was delivered from it. Okay. I believe mine was spiritual, but oftentimes it's not spiritual. Sometimes it's medical. And if you feel like that you're having suicidal thoughts and that no matter what you do, these thoughts keep coming to you and you feel overwhelmed and everything seems dark around you. And no matter what you do, you just can't seem to get any stability. You may need to seek help. Do not override that feeling, especially if it stays with you for long periods of time. Do not override it. Seek help. There's all kinds of avenues out there, all kinds of resources to help people who are suffering from depression, which usually leads to suicidal thoughts. Because clearly this young lady, she committed suicide. I'm pretty sure she suffered from depression and did not address the depression, did not seek the help that she should have gotten. Now, what could have caused the depression? I don't know. Because according to the article, it states she had a lot of accomplishments and she still was depressed. But like I said, sometimes the issue could be spiritual, because I believe in the spiritual realm. I believe in demonic spirits. I believe in a spirit of depression that can cause a demonic spirit can cause a person to want to commit suicide and push them to suicide. I do believe in that. But I also believe that it can also be medical. It can be chemical imbalances. Sometimes I think it's too much dopamine or something, or certain chemicals in the brain. There's too much of it or not enough of it, and causes the person to have these horrible bouts of depression. I mean, like this kind of depression is like on a whole nother level. It isn't just where I feel a little down today. No, this is a whole nother level of depression. And sometimes in situations like that, if it's not spiritual, then it's medical. And you're going to need to seek some kind of medical attention so that the doctor can prescribe the proper medication for you to balance those chemicals in your brain. I know someone else who suffered from something like that. That was my ex-wife. I'm not going to say her name like that because I don't do that. But my ex-wife suffered from major depressive disorder. Okay. Now, am I saying that this young lady suffered from major depressive disorder? I don't know. But before you can take your life, you have to be depressed first. Because depression leads to the suicidal thoughts, which inevitably leads to taking your life. But my ex suffered from major depressive disorder. And she had to see the doctor. And when she went to go see the doctor and the doctor prescribed medication for her, she started taking that medication and it leveled things out for her. Because I asked her when we were together, I said, well, what does this medication do for you? She says, well, it gives me, it balances me. She says, it calms me down. And then some years later, I purchased a book, a fiction book written by it wasn't a fiction book, but me being a fiction writer, this particular book was written by a actual psychiatrist who was a fiction writer. And the book was designed to help fiction writers create characters or help fiction writers who had characters in their particular books or writings that may have had mental illnesses. That book was designed from a professional psychiatrist to help assist fiction writers in the development of their characters who may have mental illness. Well, basically in the book, to summarize it, she addresses certain types of medications that the doctors prescribe to individuals who are suffering from major depressive disorder. And she talks about how this kind of depression is on a whole nother level. I know that personally from observing my ex, how depressed she would get. I mean, she would get depressed. I'm talking about to the level where she's ready to take her own life. It was only by the grace of God she didn't. I would come home from work and she'd still be in her pajamas, laying on the bed, just crying, saying her thoughts was racing. If you feel like your thoughts racing, I'm telling so much to this, people. I'm telling you, you feel like your thoughts are racing and you can't control you can't maintain your thoughts. Feel like they're just racing and coming at you at the same time. That could be a sign that you're suffering from major depressive disorder. Seek help. Seek help. Unfortunately, this young lady didn't do it. And if she did, she didn't stick to the plan that may have been given to her if she was seeking professional help. So that's why I wanted to do this video. I wanted to do this video because I wanted to address the issue of depression, which can oftentimes, if it's not dealt with, lead to suicidal thoughts, which inevitably can lead to actual suicide. But once again, my prayers go out to the family members that God will sustain them in this hour of bereavement. If you guys have anything to say, leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all and see you again.